welcome. I'm Laura of Namasturm Yoga. This is going to be part F of the Yoga ABC series for absolute beginners. So let's go ahead and come to the mat and get it started. Hello, thanks for joining me from home today. This is F is for flow. So today's practice, we're really going to flow through a lot of what we've done in the previous parts of this series. So if you haven't watched parts A, B, C, D, and E yet, I encourage you to do that just to familiarize yourself with the yoga poses, especially if you are brand new to yoga. That said, once you get to part F, we're trying to pull everything together. You could use this practice over and over again. It's going to be a pretty complete beginner level yoga practice. We're starting from a seated position, so just take your hands to your knees. This is Sukasana, or easy pose. Let your shoulders stack up over your hips. Close your eyes. Let your head float on top of your neck. Notice how you're feeling here. Allow yourself to be very mindful and aware of your body, of your mind, and finally of your breath as we transition into our yoga practice. Start to notice your inhales and your exhales. So in the second part of this series, we introduced breath, which we're going to focus in on now, and we're going to shift to an ujjayi breathing practice. And basically, just a reminder, this involves slightly narrowing the back of the throat. We're still inhaling and exhaling through the mouth, or through the nose, sorry, the lips are closed, but there's a soft rushing sound that starts to occur. You may not be able to hear me doing it, but you should be able to hear it for yourself in your own practice. And then try to steady out the rhythm of your breath. Once you've got that breath flowing at a nice, even rate, let's move to hands and knees, and we're going to move into cat-cow stretch, which we worked on in part C of this series. So shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. On an inhale, lift your head and your tailbone. Let your chest and your belly drop down for cow pose. And then as you exhale, reverse it. Tuck your tail, let your head drop down and spine arch up for cat pose. Inhale to cow pose. Exhale to cat pose. And this is where we really start to get the body moving. Do participate. Don't just watch this practice. Join in and let your body start to feel what's going on here. We're connecting the breath to the movement, but also, warming up the spine. See what's going on with your back of your body here now. One more round here. And then coming back to level, we're going to take a little twist here from the floor. So this might be a little bit new. I'm going to turn to the side just to show you. We're going to take the right leg out to the side with the toes forward. Do the best you can here. If this is too much, you could come back to a seat and take a twist from there. But from here, see if you can just take your right arm up and open your chest. Maybe let the head lean back a little bit. Your right foot is planted on the floor with the toes forward. If you feel yourself kind of collapsing down into the left arm, see if you can actually push down into your left hand and lift up out of your shoulder. Take your right hand back down and your right knee back down. And let's just do the other side. So a nice, simple twist. Step your left foot out. Toes are forward. The sole of the foot is on the floor. And take your left hand up. If this feels like it's a lot on your bottom wrist, spread your fingers. I encourage you to do that whenever your hands are on the floor throughout the practice. It helps distribute the weight through the whole palm so that it's not just hitting right into the base of your wrist. Come back to center and coming back to tabletop. Now we're going to go into downward facing dog, which we did in part D of this series. So to get to down dog, walk the hands a little further ahead of you so that they're just a little bit ahead of the shoulders. Tuck your toes, lift your knees, and as you do that, as you start to lift your knees, also really think about lifting your hips, getting a deep fold between your torso and your thighs. Move your chest back, lengthen the arms, and let the head hang heavy. Now the knees are lifted, but they don't need to be straight. So we're here, we're rooting down through the hands with the fingers spread wide. So really try to push the mat like as if you're trying to push it out from underneath you, forward of you. Move the chest back. Now with the legs, if we want to, we can keep the left knee bent and just start to gently straighten the right leg a little bit. Maybe reach the heel to the floor and then switch to the other side. So bend your right knee and straighten that left leg out. Reach the heel to the floor. And we're just working the backs of the legs gently, but we want to keep pressing the chest back. Thinking about ourselves as being an inverted V shape with the hips being the high point of the pose. Now, lift up off of both heels and let's move the shoulders forward. We're going to come to plank pose. So walk the hands maybe a little bit more forward so that you can level your whole body out. And if this is getting to be a lot on your wrists, first we will come down off of them shortly. But if it's too much, you could take your knees to the floor and take a modified plank here. This is true almost any time we're in anything like plank. If you have your knees on the floor, it will prevent so much weight from being on your wrists. Reach through the heels, pull your navel in, reach through the head. And now if your knees are still up, take them down. Let's lower the chest between the hands. Notice elbows stay by the sides as you do this. Extend the feet back behind you. And then hands by the chest, we're going to come up into Cobra Pose, which is actually a very small back bend. Hands by the sides. The first one we're going to take is Baby Cobra. So try to keep your legs relaxed behind you and just let your chest come up. You're just using the muscles of your upper back. There's a lot of space between shoulders and ears. We want to keep that. The head lifts a little bit, look forward. And then to come to full Cobra, keep your elbows near the sides of your body, but push into the hands and straighten them a little bit. We don't want to completely straighten the elbows, or we tend to lock the arms and then the shoulders sometimes just get shoved to the ears. There's still space between the ears and shoulders. We want to think of moving the chest or the heart forward to make a bit of a back bend. And then from here, we're going to sink to Child's Pose. So keep your knees on the floor, press your hands down, lift your hips, and then we're just going to glide our hips back to our heels. Let the forehead rest down. Relax your arms, relax your whole upper body here, and breathe. Child's Pose is a restorative resting pose. It's always a place you can come to if you need to take a break in your practice, or you can take it as an alternative to downward facing dog if you need to. Take one more breath here. And then let's walk the hands in. We're going to come up to our knees, and then we're just going to come to our feet, and we're going to start to move into some standing poses. So walk yourself to the top of your mat. Bring your big toes to touch. Keep your heels a little bit apart. And we're going to bring the palms together in front of the heart. So this is more than just standing. This is mountain pose or Dandasana, and we actually want to engage the legs a little bit. So we're pushing the feet into the floor, lifting our quadricep muscles, which is this muscle right above your knee. We're going to lift that a little bit. Try not to lock the knees. See if you can engage your abdominal muscles just a little bit here so it just feels a little toned up. Bring your palms together and slightly press your palms against each other. So there's a little bit of a charge that's happening. There's some energy in this pose. It's not relaxed, it's not tense, but it's kind of that balance between a little bit of effort and a little bit of ease. Gaze up and forward, tune into your breath. Find that rhythm again. Now we're going to start to flow with the breath. So on an inhale, reach the arms out and up. And as you exhale, flow forward to a forward fold, coming all the way to Uttanasana over the legs. And then let's go ahead and bring fingers to the shins. On an inhale, take a half lift, flatten the back, reach the head away from the tail for Ardha Uttanasana, or half forward fold. Exhale, fold back down over the legs, and then root into the feet to rise up, reach the arms, and palms together in front of the heart. We're going to do that one more time, and then we're going to move on to a full sun salutation. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, lift halfway. Exhale, folding down again. Root the feet down, so press the feet into the floor, rise up strong. And exhale, palms together in front of the heart. Now let's continue to flow through a sun salutation, which we did in the last two parts of our practice. Forward fold, Uttanasana. Inhale, half lift, Ardha Uttanasana. Now we're going to try to think of keeping the spine a little long here. Bend the knees, bring your palms to the floor, and step the feet back to plank and lower. So theoretically, this should all happen as we exhale. But if you got an extra breath in there, that's okay. And then we're going to inhale, elbows by the sides, flow up into Cobra. And then from here, we're going to go right to down dog. So tuck your toes, lift your knees, lift your hips, move your heart back, and hold for a bit in downward facing dog. When we're holding in down dog, this is a resting pose of sorts, but it's an active resting pose. So think about pushing the hands down into your mat, and maybe even almost like you're going to slide them forward. We don't actually want them to slip and slide forward. We want them to anchor into the sticky mat here. But then the hips lift up and the heart moves back. So the priority is to try to elongate the spine and the torso. The knees might be bent the whole time. That's fine. Don't worry so much about where the knees are or where the heels are. Inhale, lift your head, look forward between the hands. As you exhale, step or walk, or you could even hop the feet forward to the top of the mat. Bring your big toes to touch. Fingers to shins, lift halfway up, flatten the back. Exhale, fold down over the legs, and then reach out with the arms, come all the way up, and exhale, palms together in front of the heart. We're going to keep adding on a little bit. Inhale, reach the arms out and up. Exhale, take a long forward fold over the legs. Inhale, take a half lift. So we've done this before. Now, this time, instead of stepping straight back to plank, we're going to plant the palms and step just the right foot back. Reach through that back heel, front knee over ankle, and we're going to come up to crescent pose, which we did in the last practice. E is for engage, where we started to get into our standing poses. Reach the arms up. If this is too difficult for you to balance, you could bring your back knee down. So that's an option. It will help with your stability. But if your knee is not on the floor, straighten through the back leg. Make sure your front knee is stacked right on top of your ankle. From here, we're going to take a little twist. Let's take the right hand down. Fingers and toes line up across the front of the mat. Left arm up. Twist to the left. Stack your shoulders, reach the head and heel away from each other. Turn back to the floor, plant your palms. We have our shoulders over our wrists now. We're going to keep them there. We're going to keep the back leg strong and step the left foot back. We're in plank. Now we can flow, as we did earlier, through the rest of our sun salutation. You can take your knees down, slowly lower your chest down. Inhale, take a Cobra Pose. And then exhale, downward facing dog. From down dog, we're going to go into down dog splits. So we're going to take the right leg into the air. Lift it up off the ground. Keep reaching the hands into the floor. Keep reaching the right leg into the air. And then we're going to look forward between the hands and try to step the right foot all the way up. A lot of times what happens is that foot gets to about halfway and like that's as far as it wants to go. If you're stuck with the foot in the middle of your mat, help yourself out using your right hand. You might even need to bring your back knee down, whatever you need to do to get that right foot all the way to the front of the mat so that we have a knee over ankle. We want a vertical shin. Fingers to the floor. Again, you can straighten through that back leg or keep the back knee down. We're going to float up to crescent lunge on the other side. Arms up, lunge into your front knee, reach through that back leg. This should be a really nice stretch for your legs, but we're also building strength by engaging your back leg a lot. From here, left hand to the floor inside the right foot. Take the right arm and turn open. Right knee stays right above the ankle, but our shoulders are trying to stack and the arms get really vertical. Look up towards your top thumb if it's okay with your neck. Turn back to the floor and let's step forward this time. So we're going to step the back foot forward. Get your feet together. Fingers to shins. Take a half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold over the legs. Reverse the swan dive, come on up, and exhale, palms together in front of the heart. We're gonna add on a bit more. Inhale, so we're flowing here, and that we're continuing to move from pose to pose, smoothly following the breath. Inhale, take a half lift. This time, we're gonna take the fingers to the floor and step the left foot back. So the right foot's gonna stay forward. Reach for the back of the mat. Instead of coming up to crescent, we're gonna come up to warrior one, which we did in the last practice, E is for engage. Step your left toes a little to the left. Angle your back heel down so that the heel comes to the floor and you can root down and then come on up. Try to square the hips forward, so thinking of moving the right hip back and the left hip forward. The right knee moves forward, the left heel moves back and down into the floor behind you. And then take the arms up, gaze forward, warrior one. This is a strong pose. The whole body is involved. There's energy through the fingers, but the shoulders can be a little relaxed. And then from here, we take hands to the floor. Now look, if you'd rather not step to plank, lower down, take a back bend, and then go to down dog, you could just go right from here to down dog. But if you like to keep the body moving in this way, this is called the vinyasa. We can lower down. Using vinyasas is not the only way to practice yoga, so don't feel like you must. I like it because I think it keeps things connected. It keeps your body engaged the whole time. Let's take the left leg into the air. So this is down dog split on the second side. Press the hands into the floor, lift the heel into the air. Relax your neck. And then look forward between the hands and step your left foot up. Same thing, if that foot gets caught midway, use your left hand to help you. Set up your left knee over your ankle. Step your right toes a little to the right so you can angle the toes a little bit and root your right heel down. Float on up to warrior one on the other side. Lunge into the front knee. Square up with the front of your mat. So by that I mean, ideally the hip bones are across from each other and lined up with the front of the mat. The shoulders are over the hips and you've basically kind of got a square with hip bone, shoulder, shoulder. That's the idea. And then we're going to take the hands to the floor, and this time we're going to step forward. So let your back foot step up to meet the front, toes touch. Inhale, take a half lift. Exhale, fold down deep. Bend the knees and sink the hips. Let's go to chair pose, Utkatasana. So we want to have the weight on our heels and the hips down, the arms are up. So our body is like it's sitting in a chair here. Gaze forward, a little bit of work for your quads, and then let's straighten the legs and come to standing. We're going to continue to add on. I'm actually going to flip to the other side of the mat because the poses we're going to add on this time are going to be facing your way. If I'm turned this way, feet together, heels slightly apart. Let's come through chair. So bend the knees, sink the hips. Inhale. Again, this is Utkatasana. Exhale, fold. So go right into Uttanasana. Fingers to shins, flatten out the back, half lift. This is feeling familiar, yeah? Palms to the floor. We're gonna go all the way back to plank and take this vinyasa sequence, but as I mentioned, if you don't want to, you can skip it. Go straight to down dog. Lower down, take a little back bend. This is Cobra. Exhale, down dog. From down dog, let's take the right leg into the air. So again, down dog split. Look forward, exhale, step the right foot up between the hands. Pivot the back heel down. We're gonna come to warrior one. So we just did this. Coming up to warrior one, now we're gonna open to warrior two. Front knee stays over ankle, but we wanna step our left foot open. So front heel and back arch line up. Now the hips, everything is open here, but we still want our hips to be kind of across from each other, shoulders over hips. Take your arms up for a moment, and as you're taking them to shoulder height, think about lowering the arms down. It's actually easier, maybe just psychologically, than if we think of lifting the arms up, it feels like they're super heavy. If we lower them down and just rest them, they feel a little lighter. Turn and look over your front fingers. We're gonna keep the front knee bent. We're gonna keep pressing into the outer edge of the back foot. We're gonna turn the front palm up. Let's inhale to reverse warrior. We're gonna flow back and forth between reverse warrior here and exhale, extended side angle. So bring your right forearm to the thigh and top arm over. Let's go back, inhale, reverse warrior. Maybe look up towards your top fingers. Exhale, forearm to thigh, left arm overhead. Look at those fingers. Inhale, reverse warrior. Exhale, extended side angle. Hold for an extra breath here in this pose. Maybe look under your arm towards your fingertips. And then let's just turn to the floor. We can step back to plank, so just bring your hands to the ground, step back, and you can take this vinyasa sequence. If you like the feel of your body moving, you can go ahead and take your Cobra Pose, and then exhale, down dog. And we're gonna do this on the other side. So take the left leg into the air on an inhale, down dog split. Exhale, step it through all the way forward between the hands. Rotate your right heel down. Inhale, warrior one. And then we're gonna exhale, warrior two. Front heel and back arch, line up. And I'm gonna flip around again so that I can keep looking at you. Front heel and back arch, line up. Take those arms up, trying to get the shoulders and the hips to line up and that left knee to stay over the ankle. And look, this is the work of the pose. The alignment is not easy. It's designed to help open the hips, to strengthen and stretch the legs. Do the best you can. You may be able to lunge deeper. You may not be able to. It's okay. Listen to your body. This is your practice. Be aware of how things are feeling. Don't put yourself in pain. Okay, so let's go ahead and do that little flow here. Turn that front palm up. Inhale, reverse warrior, stretch back. Back hand rests slightly on the back leg. Exhale, rest your forearm on the thigh. Move the right arm up and over. Look under your arm towards your fingers. Inhale, reverse warrior. Look at the left hand. Exhale, extended side angle. Look at the right hand. Notice the legs don't change at all. We're still lunging this whole time. That front knee stays over the ankle. Exhale, extended side. Hold for an extra breath or two. If you can, look up under your arm towards your fingers. Make sure you're still breathing. And then turn to the floor. And again, I like to cue what breath you're doing. So as you step back, you're maybe inhaling. And then as you lower, you'll exhale. Inhale, come to a Cobra Pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Root into the hands, lift up with the hips. Breathe. Inhale, look forward between your hands. Exhale, step, walk, or if you like, you can hop forward. Take your fingers to your shins, take a half lift, flat back. Exhale, fold. Bend the knees, inhale, come through chair pose. And then straighten the legs, come to standing. Let's take the feet out nice and wide. We're gonna do a nice wide-legged forward fold. So try to parallel the outer edges of the feet with the outer edges of the mat. Lift your quads, take your hands to your waist. We're gonna do a nice forward fold. So this is again, Paschimottanasana. Let yourself fold about halfway and then take your hands to the floor. Lean forward toward the balls of the feet. Let the head hang down. Keep space between your ears and shoulders, and you might just have your fingertips on the floor. That's fine, but start to walk them back between your feet. And then again, lean so that your heels are on the ground, but they're not really taking much weight. Breathe. Find strength in the fronts of your legs and then stretch in the backs of the legs. Press the feet down, bring your hands back to the waist and float up. And let's turn the right toes forward. So we want to get them lined up so that the front heel lines up with the arch of the back foot. So adjust your feet. The back toes are turned a little bit in. Arms at shoulder height. Let's go to triangle. So we're really trying to include all of the poses that we've already done in this series so we can kind of fit them together and get our bodies used to doing them so that they don't feel unfamiliar. As you practice yoga in the long run, the same poses come up over and over again. There are added variations and they're in different orders, but the poses remain the same. So we're just familiarizing ourselves with the poses themselves so that next time we practice, our bodies have some idea where they're going. Float back up. And we'll do the second leg. So just re-pivot the feet. So the left toes are going to turn forward, front heel and back arch line up. Now the front leg stays straight in triangle. The arms are long, the sides of the body stay long. So this isn't a curved pose. So notice if you have that tendency, and if so, see if you can elongate, especially the left side of the body, taking your left fingers to your ankle or shin, or I like to practice sometimes with the back of the hand against the inner shin. We want this top shoulder to open and stack over the bottom one. Maybe if you can, turn your head, look up towards your top thumb. And breathe. And then from here, go ahead and float up. Let's step forward. And we're going to come to our knees. So we've done a lot of our standing poses. We've done some of our vinyasas. But now we want to work with kind of more some finishing poses. Once the body's warmed up, we actually want to do a few more things just to kind of get in there and work all of our muscles. So we're going to come to Dolphin, which we learned in part D of this series, which is very similar to down dog, but we're on our forearms. So our elbows are going to come to the floor and we want those right under our shoulders. So no wider than the shoulders, right? So make sure you've got your elbows lined up under shoulders. Interlace your fingers. Press your forearms into the floor the same way you would press your hands into the floor if you were doing down dog. So push down and maybe even send them a little bit forward. Tuck your toes, lift your knees and hips, and then move the chest back. See if you can just relax your neck here. The head should be able to hang down, but it really shouldn't be touching the floor. Breathe. Now, if you want to add on from here, just for fun, you could take your right leg up into the air. This is actually a preparation for inversion practice, meaning at some point we go upside down. We're not going to do that today, but we're getting our body used to the idea of the head being lower than the heart and the legs and the hips being over the heart as well. Okay, let's take the knees to the floor. So that's Dolphin. Now we're going to go ahead and come to a seat and we're going to take boat pose, Navasana. And we actually did this, I think, in the first part of this series. So hands behind the thighs, shoulders back, or maybe I think it was the second one, part B, we did boat. And this is a balance pose as well. So we're going to work the core as we do this, balancing on our sit bones. Extend the shins out from your knees, and then if you can keep your heart up without those hands, take them and extend them in front of you. Gaze forward. So find a single point to look at to help with your balance here. And then take your feet to the floor. We're just going to do a little reverse table. So see if you can take your hands behind you. As you do this, pull your shoulders back and tuck them into your upper body. So this is kind of what we call like integrating your shoulders into your upper back so that they're gonna support you. Push the feet down, lift the hips up, and try to get them as high as the knees. Keep your chin in, or if your neck feels okay, drop your head back completely. And then let your hips come back to the ground. We're gonna do one more boat pose. Take your hands behind the thighs, shins lift, heart up and forward. Take the arms out. And now you can stay here, or option to challenge yourself a little bit. We're gonna go a little lower. So roll, not all the way to your low back, but like 2 vertebrae down, so onto your tailbone. Reach the legs out. Keep the heart lifted. We're not on the floor, but this is just a little more work. So from here, we're just gonna drop all the way to the ground. So when you're ready to let it go, let it go. We're gonna bend the knees, bring the heels slightly away from the hips. You should be able to just kind of graze your heels with your fingertips, and we're gonna take bridge pose, which is a back bend that we did, again, early in the series, I think in part B. So with your knees over your ankles, you're just gonna push your feet down and start to lift your hips off the floor, and that's the basic pose. But really, if you just lift your hips up, you kind of feel more like a ramp than a bridge. So we want to get our heart a little bit higher and our hips a little bit more, almost to the level of our knees. So see if you can, roll to your left shoulder and pull your right arm completely underneath you. And then roll to your right arm and pull the left arm underneath you as well. And maybe clasp your hands underneath your back. And now we've got those arms underneath us. We can lift a little higher. Push into the feet to send your hips to the ceiling, and your heart is actually kind of moving towards your chin. Breathe. Back bends are great for the spine. They can be a little invigorating. And then when you're ready to come down, get the shoulders out of the way one at a time and try to move the spine to the floor really carefully, 1 vertebra at a time. So really carefully. From here, we're gonna take a little twist while we're on our back. So this should feel really good. Pull your knees into your chest. Maybe for a moment, just roll those knees around, massage your back. And then we can take the arms out, like you can take them like a T, but if you don't have a lot of space, take them more like a cactus or a goalpost, whatever makes sense to you. And we're gonna drop the knees to the left. Let them both just fall to the left, but we're gonna turn our head to the right to complete the twist. So legs go one way, head goes the other, and our spine gets a nice twist in the middle. This should feel good and relaxing. Twists are actually really lovely to do after back bends because they tend to neutralize the spine, but they also just feel nice. Breathe. And then coming back through center, knees through chest, and then we're gonna let them drop over to the right and turn the head to the left. So we're just going the other way here. Try to let your left shoulder relax, even though it might be popping up a little, but turning your head to the left should help bring some weight in that direction. And then coming back through center, hug your shins. Let's see if we can roll a couple times from shoulders to hips. Do the best you can here. And I'll give you a little challenge if at the end you'd like. See if your last roll, you can come up to one more boat pose. See what happens. Take the feet to the floor and then extend your legs out. The last pose we're going to do here to finish up is a simple forward fold. So we can start in Dandasana. Dandasana actually is sort of a forward fold. We've got a bend from our legs to our torso. Now, if you have a really hard time actually finding this L shape, you could sit up on a block, and I didn't talk about the block today, or even a book. Sometimes it's helpful to just get those hips up to help move your shoulders forward a little bit more. But it's optional. If you don't need it, don't worry about it. If you don't have it, don't worry about it. Flex the feet. Let's take the arms up. And then as you exhale, just let yourself bend right at the waist here. Now we don't need to keep the spine flat as a board. We can start to have a little curve there. But don't rush, don't pull, don't push, don't force. Really what happens when we start to lean forward is that our upper body starts to give in to gravity. We're going to keep the legs engaged. So by flexing the feet, we know that the legs are a little toned. Those quads right above the knees, we want to sort of tone those up as well. The knees actually aren't locked, and you might even find your knees are a little bent, and that's okay. And then as we start to get a stretch, the body's going to give in a little bit more. You can close your eyes, you can even drop your head here. If your hands easily reach the feet, fabulous, that's great. But don't worry if they don't. It doesn't have to happen that you hold your feet in this pose. But if you do, if it feels comfortable to hold them, enjoy. Take about 2 more breaths here. And then come on up, start to walk the hands in, and we're going to come back to cross leg, returning our practice to where we began. Okay, bring your palms together in front of the heart. So I hope this was a good reminder of what we've done in the previous sections of this series. And I hope it felt like a really good, strong yoga practice, maybe even one that you can come back to again, just so you know, you're flowing, you're moving, your body's, engaged and everything is going together. This is yoga. Let's go ahead and close with a simple bow forward. So maybe close your eyes, take a moment to tune into your breath. The light in me recognizes and honors the light in you wherever you are. Thank you so much again for joining me from home and sharing your practice. Namaste. Thanks. And again, don't forget to subscribe and hit your notification bell. There will be more episodes coming in this series. The next one is going to be G is for grounding, and we'll focus on standing balance poses. See you next time.